My name is Terry Laly. That's Princess Red Palm. And this morning we are welcoming these alumni that graduated here, and they're going to share their experiences and their careers to help you guys. Today we have Jason Rojas, in Inez Farah, Bob Francis, and
We have Lakia,
Lakia,
Laker. Okay, well, please give them your undivided attention.
What would you like me to answer first? All right. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Good. You haven't had your coffee yet, apparently? No. It's coming. Well, as I was introduced, my name is Jason Rojas. I graduated from the high school here in 1994. I was explaining that to Terry over here. He's like, oh, that was before I was even born. And I was like, thank you for the reminder. But I grew up here in East Hartford. I went to Silver Lane Elementary School, went to East Hartford Middle School, and then of course went here to the high school. After high school, I attended the University of Connecticut, where I studied history. After graduating from UConn, I came back to East Hartford because a childhood goal of mine was to be mayor of this town. So I was always really interested in politics, and actually my journey in politics actually began in this building. Where right from my freshman year, I ran for vice president of the class, and I got involved in every club that you can imagine. Ran for student council, so that by the end of high school, I was president of like every club at the high school. And interestingly enough, I also met my wife here in the hallways of East Hartford High School. So I always tell students, be nice to each other, because you never know who you're going to end up marrying. And certainly for the men, women are the bosses when you get married, so be nice to them now. That's a number one recommendation I think I could give to you. But certainly I came back to East Hartford, I got involved in politics, ran for the Board of Education. After the Board of Education, I ran for the Town Council. And obviously Board of Education kind of sets all the policy around how our schools operate here in East Hartford. And then on the Town Council, they set all the policy of how the town runs, so your police, your fire, your snow plowing, your garbage pickup, all those kinds of things I was involved in helping make happen. And then I ran for state representative. So I serve over at the Capitol in Hartford. I represent East Hartford and Manchester, and in that job, and maybe we'll get into it a little bit later, I helped write all the laws for the state of Connecticut, and I also helped pass a budget that is about $40 billion. And that helps run the state of Connecticut, but it's one of the most fascinating jobs that I have. And of course, politics is a part-time thing. I worked in higher education for 20 years, and I worked over at Trinity College in Hartford. I'm the Chief of Staff and Executive Vice President for External Affairs. So I helped the President run the college, which is a very, very complicated endeavor. I always think about you just show up to high school and the lights are on and there's heat and your teachers are here, but it takes a lot of effort to make all of that happen so that we can deliver the kind of education that you expect us to deliver for you, and certainly that your parents and guardians and loved ones expect us to give to you. So I think I'll stop there because I'm a politician and I can talk for a long time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lakeisha Von Patrick. I graduated from East Hartford High in '99. Before that, I graduated from East Hartford Middle and also attended Langford School. After I graduated from here, I transferred to Hartford Seminary, graduated from the Women's Studies program there. Also, University of St. Joe's, again, Women's Studies. My next goal is to finish up my master's and get my PhD from UMass. And I hold a lot of hats. I'm first lady at my husband's church. I write books. I'm a business owner. I do so much. I have so much hats. But after I get my PhD, I want to run a women's centers at my former colleges that I graduated from. So that's my next step in life.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Inez. I actually graduated from East Hartford High in 2007. I actually graduated from middle school too, but I actually went to 6 elementary schools. I'm a military grad, so I was born in Germany, raised in Puerto Rico, and travels throughout the United States. All my college was military. So East Hartford was home for me. In high school, I was on the volleyball team, and I served as a captain in the last 2 years. Any athletes here? No, maybe so. Okay. also part of student council, so I love coming back to East Hartford High because I just feel like this place shapes who I am as a leader. Currently, I work at Central Connecticut State University. I advise Division I student athletes on campus, so I primarily work with our men's basketball program and our football team, and then I also oversee our lacrosse program. I'm the person to help them finish college, stay eligible. So I give back to my community. This is why I'm here. I should be sleeping right now. Today I have a day off, but I think this is such a great opportunity to share my story with you all because I sat in the same exact room not knowing what I was going to do. So I'm excited to be here, ask us questions. This should be informal because we're here to give back to you guys, to let you guys know what we do and how we got there.
Hi, my name is Bob Francis. I did not graduate from East Hartford High School. I did graduate, but it was from Penny High School. So,
Penny High School was the other high school.
So Penny High School used to be the high school that was the arch rival of East Hartford. So I played basketball. So we were the Knights, Penny High Knights against the Hornets. Okay. When I played, we usually won, but we didn't have to compete with Dougie Wiggins or Will Solomon. So. I graduated here in 1976. The last time I was here, I was speaking on top of this platform here, and my teacher was a guy named John Larson. So they had a youth and government day, and he talked me into running for politics, and that was the last exposure I had to politics, thank God. So I graduated here. Back when I was here, the middle of the school wasn't even existing, they were just building it. And I saw Ray Dalio, who's the CEO of Bridgewater, the richest guy in Connecticut, who's worth $18 billion on 60 Minutes. And I said, that's my old school there, which is now East Hartford. And I thought, I started donating some money. I'm at a point in my career, I've been working for 42 years, so a fair amount of experience. I'm at a point to give back, so I started donating some money to different schools. I graduated from O'Connell School, which is the other end of town. I lived on Manor Circle. So I played basketball, I ran track here at Penny. My wife was the first state champion in the sport. She was the state champion in tennis. She went to the Central Connecticut. She graduated from here, and they created a tennis scholarship for her. She was an All-American at Central, and she was number 9 in the country. So I'm tied into some of the sports things. So I worked at Pratt Whitney for about 30 years. I worked in manufacturing. I started off as a parts inspector. And then went back to school for my degree and got my bachelor's and my MBA. I bounced around different jobs. At Pratt Whitney, I had the opportunity to travel all over the world, trying to improve different businesses and cash flow companies. I'm more of a hands-on type person. The benefit I had here coming to school, I related to Adriana, that I took an ASVAB test, I remember, for the military. It's a natural abilities test, and I suggest that anyone in this room should be taking natural abilities tests to find out what you're naturally good at. And I found some things in there that I didn't realize. So right now I work as the Vice President of Operational Excellence for a company named Caroline Precision in Manchester. We're owned by the Carlyle Group, which is a large private equity company. So I have the opportunity to work with different businesses all over the world. And right now we really need people in the aerospace manufacturing business. And Pratt Whitney, which I spent 30 years at, is right behind us. So they're looking for people. If you have the right education, as my dad would say, it's the ticket to the ball game. You can't get in the game unless you have a ticket. So there's a lot of people, a lot of natural abilities. You got to develop those. I'll say high school was probably one of the toughest things that I experienced. Once you get out of high school, and people will disagree with me, but I don't really care, it's going to be easier. You deal with a lot of peer pressure. I played basketball. I don't want any of my friends to see me carrying home a book, right? I got to get good grades. I can't see them carrying, I can't say I'm studying, okay? The peer pressure is not to study. So you got to find a way, because once you get out there, you get a car, you get a mortgage, it's too late. You can say, hey, I'm going to go back to school at night. It's tough, because I did it. So I'm looking forward to seeing the questions that you guys have. It's a lot of opportunities out there, and like my dad used to say, we don't have to take think you can't get into the game. So you might not like it. It's a necessary evil. So if you pay attention and do what you got to do, the peer pressure I know is intense, right? And you may look at somebody who's doing something that you want to do, but you got to put in the work, right?
How did your time here at EHH has prepared you for your success today?
I took an architectural drawing class right over here, still there. And Mr. Marquetti was the instructor. And Mr. Marquetti is the wrestling coach. He used to the basketball players used to say it was donkey ball, that he really could do that. And you wouldn't want to see the wrestling practices, but he motivated me to try and pursue some different things that I didn't think about. I was in a college prep course. I was good with my hands. My dad had a side business of wallpaper and painting. I was good with my hands. And that club, mechanical drawing, architectural drawing, revealed a side of one of my natural abilities to visualize things, construct things. So it helped me when I got into the workforce reading blueprints when I went to prep with me. I could read different types of drawings and interpret things. So it was a skill that I could use by going through the architectural drafting course.
How many of you know what a first generation college student is? So first generation means you're the first in your family to go to college. So that was my story. So when I was at East Hartford High, my parents had instilled in me that I was going to go to college, whether I liked it or not. And so I studied a lot. I made sure that I took college prep courses at East Hartford High because I knew that my next step was to go to college. My senior year, I got rejected from every single school that I applied to. I had a good GPA, but my SAT scores were low. So Ms. Cohen was my guidance counselor, and I would sit in her office and I would cry because for 4 years I took college prep courses, I had honors, I was the captain of the volleyball team, but when it came to applying for colleges, they denied me. So working with Ms. Cohen, writing my essays, Mr. Ryan had just became the principal in East Hartford High that year, and he helped me with some of my college essays. And I was able to get a conditional acceptance into CCSU, and I was part of a Latino Comcast program, which was an educational opportunity program that gave first-generation low-income students an opportunity to access college. So I spent 5 weeks on campus, I lived on campus, took classes, and I had to prove to the university that I was good enough to attend. So the good thing is I graduated, right? I graduated top of my class. I received the President's Citation Award at the university, which was only given to the top 4 graduating seniors. And then CCSU hired me and they paid for my master's degree. And I say all of that because it started at East Hartford High, the college prep courses that I took, the ability to advocate for myself. Our teachers here at East Hartford High care about us and they want us to be successful. And all I had to do was talk to them. To this, now, I had some of these teachers are my colleagues, my mentors, my friends. And I'm thankful that they were here for me, that they gave me the motivation when I didn't see it within myself, and that they helped navigate a process that was very unfamiliar to my family. My family didn't know what college was. They didn't know what financial aid was. And there were some very critical people here at East Hartford High that helped me through that process. And then even thinking about my senior year, it was freshman orientation, it was in the same room, and I had to talk to the students, and I was so afraid. And today I'm a little nervous, because I'm not a formal person. I like to stand up, I would walk around, talk to you guys, see your faces, but public speaking is something that East Hartford High gave me as a skill. So if you're afraid of talking in front of people, those presentations you do in class, the times that your teachers ask you to read something out loud, it's for a reason. They're not doing it to pick on you, they're doing it because they want you to gain some of these skills that you're going to need once you leave East Hartford High.
As for me, my mother is a college graduate, so I knew I was going to college. When I graduated from here, I got accepted to all the colleges that I wanted. And the confidence that I had, it's not like I was cocky, it's just that the teachers here, they gave me that confidence that I got at home from my mother, that I can do anything I want to do if I want to get to that college. gonna get into it. So that's my answer, that the teachers here, they really care about you, and they will give you that confidence that you need in the world. Because the world, once you get out of here, some people are not so friendly out here. Sad but true, a lot of people don't want to see you succeed in life. You know, I know you know the word hating. You're gonna get that in the real world. But if you have a strong support system at home, like I did, and also from East Hartford High, you can fight back and be successful.
I'd say one of the greatest benefits I got out of attending East Hartford High School, over and above the academics, was really the exposure to the diversity of people who make up this school community. And I think, you know, when I went to UConn, I met a lot of kids from all over the state, all over the country, who had never met a person who was Latino, who had never met an African American person. Somehow they grew up in communities where they just didn't have that kind of diversity. And the reality is, as you grow up and you graduate into that world, you're going to have to learn how to work with people from all walks of life, whether you want to or not. It can start off in college when you get assigned a roommate randomly. You're going to have to figure out how to live with each other in a very small space, where you're, you know, sharing. There's just not a lot of room in a dorm room to get any privacy, and you got to figure out how to work with each other. And certainly that translates when you get into the working world too. You are going to have to work with people who have come from very different walks of life than you have very different opinions about just about everything, whether it's politics, religion, relationships, how the world should work. And the beauty of East Hartford High School was I was exposed to people of all walks of life. I was able to learn different perspectives and respect those different perspectives, even if they were different than what I was thinking. Because the world does not revolve around you. You will quickly find that out if you haven't found that out already. And I think the most important part of having a successful career is being able to walk into a room and develop relationships with people and build a network of people who are going to open the door for you when you need a door open for you. Because you're right, it's not easy going out there. It's not easy to, you know, you can get a college degree and still struggle to find a job. And one of the most important assets that you're going to have are going to be relationships with other people who you may not think you agree with, but you're going to need to very quickly.
If your younger self was sitting in the crowd right now, what kind of advice would you guys give yourself? I think like a couple of
Yeah, believe it or not, I would have taken my academics even more seriously than I did when I was young. And I was a fairly good student, but I also liked to have a good time. And certainly that was more the case when you get to college and you don't have your parents or your guardians over your shoulder, or where the professors, they care about you, but if you don't show up to class, it's not like they're calling you or going to find you. They're just going to reflect that you're not going to class in your grade. And I struggled quite a bit with balancing social life and academic life. So certainly, if I could do it all over again, I would find a much better way to find the right balance between those two competing interests.
My advice for my younger self is just be prepared for the unexpected.
That's a tough question. One, I would say challenge yourself. Challenge yourself academically, challenge yourself socially, challenge yourself mentally, physically. Do something that's going to make you a little uncomfortable and see how you deal with that. So I work with college students, and specifically I work with college athletes. So I am on a daily basis reminding themselves to do the right thing. This is a time of your life where there's peer pressure, as some of the panelists talked about. You want to be cool, you want to do things that you know you shouldn't be doing. Remember to do the right thing. Respect people, respect all people. You were raised by a family, whether it be your mother, your father, a guardian, aunts, an uncle, grandparents, your sister, your older brother. Someone raised you. So act like that when you're in public. Act like that when you're in school. Act like that when you're interacting with each other, when you're interacting with your teachers. Don't talk back. Don't give an attitude. Expand your vocabulary. There's no need to curse. I work with college athletes. My basketball players are not allowed to come into my office using certain words. I challenge them to be different, to expand their vocabulary, to just do the right thing. So at this age, I think that's something you guys need to hear and continue to hear, because no one likes to be Be aware who you surround yourself with. Who are your friends? Are your friends skipping class? Are your friends not doing their homework? Are your friends talking back? That's all really important, and these are skills that you're going to have to learn as you progress in life. So make sure you're surrounded by people who are empowered, who are going to be doing the right thing, and not necessarily bringing you down or not giving you the motivation that you need.
I think what I would tell you yourself is, there's a lot of things that you're looking at every day. You have to come to school, okay? So if you're going to be here, why not pay attention, right? It's important to have a good breakfast in the morning. These are foundational elements to make sure that you have a good opportunity to learn. You have a window of opportunity here while you're in school, right? You don't have a mortgage, you're not paying bills, right? So this window of opportunity, pay attention and try to use time management. So weekends, nights, how you spend your time, it counts. So every day that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, it starts to accumulate, right? Then if you fall behind in your class, then it's too late. The teacher's not going to spend a lot of time, like Jason said. You go to college, they don't care. You fall behind, you're gone, right? Here, you're in a public education program, right? We're paying taxes to pay the teachers' salaries, to pay for the lights here. You guys just have the opportunity to take advantage of that. So try and pay attention more, manage your time, decide how you're going to block out time to study. I was a better than average student by doing almost nothing. When I started to go to school at night to get my degrees, I never missed a class. I went weekend and Saturday. I was a full-time student and I worked full-time. Okay, so it's difficult, but it can be done. Set goals, read books, and then it's talking about vocabulary. Vocabulary will separate you, right? Like my grandmother used to say when we used to swear, it's an excuse to a poor vocabulary. And even in the emails, I had a woman that worked for me, and she would write these emails, and the grammar was all screwed up. And at first, people would receive these and think, oh, she just misspelled something. But then it became entertainment. We forward the emails. Look what she did this time. Look what she did. So I finally told her, do not send anything out unless one of us looks at it. Because they don't know you. All they have to go by is this email. And if it's grammatically incorrect, if the words are misspelled, there's no excuse. You can do a search, and you can do a spell check. There's no excuse for it. But vocabulary, when I hear Inez speak, okay, I listen, right? She's very articulate. I just like to listen. No, but she is. It sticks out. And those things will separate you. And when you get to a position where you're going to be leading something and you're not articulate, if you just talk loud and you want to try and take advantage of situations, that's a weak leader. You're just insecure, right? So people will respect you for doing your job. The thing will separate you is your ability to speak and to lead people. The people part is harder. The technical part, you can figure that out, right? And I worked in aerospace for 40 years. It's pretty complicated, right? But people who rise to the top, right now, the president of Pratt Whitney is a guy named Bob Ledoux. I used to work for Bob. When you hear Bob speak, he's articulate, right? He grew up as a jet engine engineer, but he's articulate. He motivates people, right? So take advantage of the opportunities you have to speak in front of people. When try to do the right thing when no one's looking is what I call it, right? So no one's going to be behind you, when you're by yourself saying, okay, how should I spend my time? And cell phones, okay? Cell phones are actually I put it away already. Cell phones and computers and technology and social media is the biggest time waster to me. Okay, there's some entertainment from it. There's some benefit. You're going to waste hundreds of thousands of hours where somebody else is putting in the work. When I played basketball, I ran track. The coach would always be saying, okay, John Wooden used to say this, while you're busy screwing off, somebody else is practicing and they're going to beat you. And people don't see all the hard work they put in, right? Even like LeBron James, they just assume he's a gifted athlete. They don't see him putting in all the work. Okay? Work's a four-letter word. My dad passed away 4 years ago in his eulogy. I said, work is a four-letter word. It's my dad's religion. My dad worked every day. He didn't go to church. We go to church on Sundays. He wouldn't go. He'd be working. Because that's a little bit overboard, okay? But everybody in that room, all those kids there played sports here at this high school. And my dad would go to all the games. They knew him. He would support them. And when he came over to my house and we're working on a project, here, take this shovel, take this hammer. We're doing a roofing job. I don't know how to roof. Just shut up and get to work, right? My dad, I hear that in my head. He passed away 4 years ago. Shut up and get to work. Do the work, right? So work is tough, but it pays off.
Did you have any setbacks, and if so, how did you overcome them?
So I'll tell you how I fell on my face. That's more entertaining than bragging about what I've done. I started off in Central Connecticut, and I got into, I only applied to a couple of schools. I got into Central Connecticut. I wasn't a great student. My SAT score was less than 1,000. You know, I was an average student. I thought I wanted to become an architect because of my drafting class. And the teacher told me, I remember the teacher I had here said, there's 4 years of school, and there's another 4 years apprenticeship, and I said, I can't go to school for 8 years. I'm just not going to do that. So I went to Central. I started taking the entry-level lower courses. I'm taking theater and all these different things, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I don't think I want to do this. So my dad worked at Pratt Whitney, and I ended up dropping out. So I only went for 1 semester. I dropped out, and then I was also interested in photography. So I went to a photography school for 6 months, thought I wanted to do that, and I didn't, it was something I liked, but not for a job. I wanted to just take pictures of what I wanted. So then my dad worked at Pratt Whitney, he said they're hiring. So I said, I don't know what I want to do. He says, well, you can figure it out when you get there. So I applied, and I started working in Southern Pratt Whitney. I had no degree. I was the lowest paid person in the plant, okay? So I worked for about a year, and I'm getting a quarter an hour increase every 16 weeks. So I made $200 a week, okay? So that was difficult. It was 3:30 to midnight. I worked second shift, didn't get to see my friends. I drive into Hartford, get changed that night, go out with my friends till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I thought, you know, this is terrible. And then one of my father's friends said to me, he says, you want to do this crap for the rest of your life? I said, well, I'm getting paid good salary. He says, you're making shit, a monkey can do this. So I felt sort of insulted. I thought I had a good job. He says, what the hell are you going to do this for the rest of your life? So I ended up going back to school. I started off with a couple of classes. The company paid for it. That's another thing when you go to a company. If you don't go to college right out of high school, don't worry about it, right? It's a window. It's a hell of a lot easier. My suggestion is get your tail to college if you can get in and get it done right after high school. Get high school taken care of, then college, right? But now I have a wife. Now I have a kid. Now I'm like, okay, I got to finish up college. So I went to Central Connecticut, and I ended up getting my degree there. Another story about my wife. My wife graduated from here high school. She was a state champ in tennis. Never lost a match. Played number 1 4 years. She was a big fish in the little pond, they call it, right? So she decides she's not going to college. You know, she had scholarships, UConn. She had like 15 schools, full rides, right? Top 25 player in the country. She decides she's going to go to college. So she spent 4 years working. We go to get married. She's 23. I'd like to go back to school. I said, you mean at night? She says, because I'm thinking it's another income. Not so fast. So she goes to Central. Central has no scholarships. The coach knows she's really good. They create a scholarship for her. So here's 2 people that didn't follow the normal path. There's a way to get there, right? And I think just because you made some mistakes and you got to where you're at now, for me, people look at it and they just assume I had a clear path, right? That it's so easy. And goal setting is really important. I can't emphasize that enough. I used to think, I want to make $500,000 so I'm 62, right? So right now, I make more than twice my age. So it could be 5 or 6 times that, depending on the year. So I'm not trying to brag, I'm just saying, I went from $250 a week to something with probably 3 zeros added on to that. So how I got there, if someone told me this is what's going to happen, I think I'd be all nervous, like, what if I make a mistake? I'm supposed to get it. Somebody already told me I'm here. Someone saw in the future. How the heck is this going to happen? Goals and hard work. Goals are probably one of the most important things. Having some type of goal in front of you that you can work toward, right? But having a goal and time management is important. So there's different ways to get there. I'll tell you what though, you do not want to be married with kids and going to school at night to get your degree, right? These guys made a great decision. They said, you know what? They're smart enough to say, I got to do it right after high school. I got to do this and this and this, and they got it done, right? You know, here's someone didn't even get in. They didn't even say you're good enough, all right? What happens? She ends up being top of the class. So the SAT isn't the nail in the coffin, right? There are people with low SAT scores. So my wife's 2 cousins. One of them was valedictorian one year, one was valedictorian the following year, here. The first one got a perfect score on the SAT, 1600. His slacker sister got 1560. All right? He went to Harvard. She went to Williams. All right? They both ran cross country here. So they did a lot of different things, right? Occupy your time. You know, that's why my parents were like, my mom was to say, well, mom, she didn't drive. Yeah, we wouldn't be able to participate in all the sports we did nowadays if people got to drive you somewhere, right? But occupy your time with constructive things. And like I said, electronics are like and you can, I find myself too watching too much TV sometimes. At the end of the week, what the hell did I get done outside of work? My dad's in my ear, passed away. What did you get done this week? You know, shut up and get back to work. That's his mantra.
So, thinking of myself back, so I told you guys I didn't get accepted to college. Then I had to go to the summer program, and the program ended in July, the end of July. And so I got a bill in August for $3,000, and that was the only way I could go to Central School. I was like, damn, y'all didn't accept me. I had to go through the summer program, and now I have to pay an extra $3,000 on top of the loans that I had already received. So that was my first, little second, third setback in college. And then I went to college thinking I was going to be a criminology major. Do you guys watch Law and Order? Yeah? You know Detective Olivia? That was my girl. I was going to be just like Detective Olivia. So I signed up for criminology, and I had to take a bio class, and I had to take a law enforcement class. Nobody told me that I had to look at blood and bio, and that I would have to do a ride-along the cop at midnight for my law enforcement class. So I realized I was scared of the dark. Any noise freaked me out. It's actually boring to sit in a patrol car, and just sit there overnight and have to deal with like drunk college students and stuff like that. So here I am, get accepted to college, had to take out an extra $3,000 loan, and now I can't be Detective Olivia. She was an actress, y'all. She's not really a detective. So that was my setback. So I'm in college, I'm paying for classes, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. So during that time, there was a school newspaper, and they printed an article. It was a comic strip, and it was about a young Latina girl getting peed on in the closet. And for some reason, the school newspaper printed this. And so I was sitting in my class, and people were like, you don't know what the big deal is. And I was getting a little upset, but I was really, really upset. And this was before Facebook, before Twitter, etc. And then I was walking to my class, and I saw a group of students protesting. And one of my friends from that summer program was like, man, you have to skip your class, let's go. And I was like, I'm not skipping class, I'm paying for this. I just took out an extra $3,000, I gotta go to class. And I sat in class, and someone made a comment. It pissed me off. As a Latina, I found this comic strip insensitive, and so through that experience, through advocating, through sharing my story, through protesting, I learned that I love talking about social justice issues, racial inequality, So I decided I would take a sociology class. Had no idea what I was going to do with sociology. I just knew I liked talking about race, class, gender, oppression. So I like to read about it, I like to write about it. So if I'm paying for something, I'm gonna want to enjoy it. So my mom thought I was a social work major. She has no idea what sociology is, but that was something that I was interested in. So my setback was really in college trying to figure out what my major was. Now as a professional, some of my setbacks are trying to create boundaries with my students. I travel a lot, so I travel with our men's basketball program. So we were just at Arizona State 2 weeks ago. Some of my setbacks now is our team is 0-7. They haven't won a game. And it is hard to keep these students focused right now when you're losing, right? So my job on a daily basis is encouraging my students, motivating them, and letting them know that even though they're losing, it's not defining who they are. This is non-conference. You're not supposed to be Arizona State. You're not supposed to be Duke. You're not supposed to be some of these big teams. We're getting paid to get beat. So that is a setback that I have right now. I'm just trying to encourage my students. So y'all pray for me because we have 2 more weeks of the semester, and I need them to be eligible.
My setback in college would be my first college that I attended. I had a sick sister. She was born with congenital heart disease, and at 2 years old, she passed away. So before she passed away, I had to take some time off from college to help out because I am the oldest of 8. My mother didn't have anybody. My sister's father, he didn't even come to the funeral. During the funeral, I had to help plan my sister's funeral with our mother. So that's the only setback that I had at the beginning of my college experience, that I had to take time off as the oldest to help out during the time that my sister passed away. But after that was settled, I went back and I graduated. And then I transferred to another college.
I'd say my biggest setback was my entire freshman year of college. So I was a really good student here at East Hartford High School, got really good grades, studied really hard. Then I get to college and I thought I could apply some of the study skills that I unfortunately developed during high school, in which, I thought I could cram everything in the night before a test instead of doing the readings as they were assigned. Spent more time hanging out in the dorm rooms with my friends instead of studying. Spent nearly no time in the library. So I was certainly intellectually mature, but socially immature. And I think it goes back to some of the comments that I made earlier about trying to strike the right balance in life. And that freshman year of college was just a debacle for me, unfortunately, because I didn't put in the effort or the time that is required to actually be successful in attaining a higher education. And I really wasted an opportunity. Even to this day, I feel a lot of regret and embarrassment about how I handled myself, what would now be 25 years ago. But it's something that stayed with me ever since, because I know my parents worked really hard to give me the opportunity to go to college. Certainly my teachers in this building worked really hard to give me the opportunity to college. And then when left to my own devices, I just simply wasn't mature enough to handle myself and handle my business. And I paid a dear price because I'm still embarrassed about it 25 years later.
So maybe we could talk a little bit more about that. So
I don't want to talk about that anymore.
like your schedule, like how did you guys balance both school and your social life? Because I hope you guys had a social life.
Yeah, I had too much of a social life, right? So in college I ended up pledging a fraternity, a social fraternity. You hear lots of things about fraternities, and I know a lot of the positives about fraternities, but certainly there are some downsides. The downsides are there is always somebody who wants you to do something with them that isn't necessarily related to your academics. And it really just comes down to simply prioritizing and being mature enough to prioritize the right things in life at that moment over some of the other things that are nice to do, but not a need to do. And that really was it. After that freshman year, getting put on academic probation and realizing I was not heading in the right direction, I just had to extract myself from some of the social circles that I was walking in. And it wasn't that you couldn't have friends and that you couldn't have a good time. You just had to prioritize what you were in college actually for, which is to learn, get an education, and figure out what it is you want to do when you become an adult and graduate from college.
As for me, at my former alma maters, I created chapters of my nonprofit, which is a sisterhood. And also I created another organization for women, for the National Women's Studies Association. It's centered around my back then So I kept my grades up and still maintain my 2 chapters there, my organizations on campus.
So managing my time. So in college, you don't have mom or dad waking you up. What time do you guys wake up to go to school? Wow, that's early.
It's earlier than college.
That's earlier than college. My first semester, I had an 8 a.m. class. It was a statistics class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I think I woke up around 5 days to stop. But when you're in college, your mom and dad aren't there, and you live on campus, your roommate is asleep. No one's really telling you to go to class, right? So I would go every Monday and Wednesday, but Fridays were tough. Because in college, Thursday night, some of the teachers know what I'm talking about. Thursday night is college night. So you go out, anyways, you guys know, like, you'll know about it. So Thursday night, fun night, right? It was very hard to wake up for an 8 a.m. statistics class. So I ended up getting a D- in that class, and I had to retake it eventually later on. But college was fun. I talk about the experience of living on campus. You're living in a residence hall with your peers. Everyone's going to college. You guys are all experiencing this for the first time. The roommate drama. There's so many stories. But I knew that when that $3,000 bill that I had in July, I had to manage my time and make sure that I was going to classes and that I was doing what I had to do to be successful. So because I did that summer program, one of the admissions counselors who I met in this high school, she came to do one of those presentations where the colleges come and they talk to you about school. She offered me that summer program, and she offered me a job as a student worker in her office. So she helped me manage my time, because now there was someone that was looking for me and she's gonna pay me for it. So in college I made sure I had that job. But as the president of the Latin American Student Organization, getting involved, my peers knew me as Mom Inez. My students call me Auntie Inez. I'm the person who always kind of kept everyone on track. If we were going out, I made sure everyone was doing their homework at least to a certain time. So we might head out at 10 o'clock at night. By 8 o'clock, we had to have our papers done. We were in the computer lab, rushing, typing really fast. I see Miss Edge in the crowd. I took a typing class in her class. You have saved my life. It is so easy to type, and because of her in that class, she used to hide the keyboard from us so we couldn't see the letters. So, and it was a test that we had to do. I'm an efficient typewriter right now. And so, on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock, I was in that computer lab, typing away so that way I could go get ready and enjoy my night. So, I tell my students, work hard, play harder. Work hard, do what you have to do, get your assignments done, submit them on time, do your readings, go to class, show up. And then when you have the time, enjoy it, have fun, go out, do things that you want to do that enjoy you so that can motivate you and give you the energy to start all over again the next day or the next week.
So because I'm the dinosaur on this panel, this is, when you're talking about going to school, I went to school at night. So I would have to get up at 6 o'clock because I started work at 7. And I worked till 3:30. Where I would work at 3:30 to midnight, I worked 2 hours pre-shift, 2 hours post-shift. So it would basically be a 10 to 12 hour day. So my perspective is a little bit different, right? So I was thrown into the water, I had to swim to survive. So I was married, had children, going to school at night. So my classes were Saturdays, Sundays at night, or Saturdays at night. I decided that the only way I could do it is I would never, ever, ever miss a class. Never miss a class. When I was here going to Penny High School, when we started high school, I would never ask a question, okay? I knew a lot of people, most people thought I was very extroverted. I really wasn't. I was mostly introverted. In class, I would never, ever, ever ask a question. In college, I'm asking every damn question there is. I'm paying for that. My company's paying for a part of it. I decided that I'm going to ask questions. People get irritated. I could care less. Okay. Now I'm a little bit older than you, going to school at that time, right? I was 22, 23 years old. But I decided to make use of the time. If this is one of the things I did, okay, you'll see in every notebook I have, even now, see there's something right there. On the back page, if there's a word I don't understand, right? When I was in high school, I'd write it down on the back, I'd go look it up. Because vocabulary is power, right? Knowing words is power. You embarrass yourself once or twice when you get out in the workforce with using the wrong words at the wrong time. And at first it's funny, but then after that, they're thinking, this person's not very sharp, just by using the words. You may know exactly what you're talking about. You use the wrong words, or you don't know what the words mean, it's a problem, right? So, I hear a word in college, ask the question, what is it? Okay, I got it down on my back sheet. Taking notes, writing things down, it's out of respect, right? If I have a team that's doing some type of activity for whatever plant we're working in, we have a report out to management. Okay, they better have something to write with. Someone asks a question, they write it down. Someone makes a comment, they write it down out of respect. So you go into a class, you better have something to write with, right? You're taking notes. Some people can just absorb it. They're really brilliant, right? I'm not brilliant. I work hard, right? So working hard is easy, right? You just got to do it. You know, if you're born with average intelligence, but you work harder than the other person, you're going to beat them. So to me, a lot of the time management and things like that, I would never miss a class. I'd always ask questions. I'd always take down notes. Whatever work had to be done, I would do it. You guys have a lot of distractions now. You know, computers, when I went to school, we didn't have computers. We used a stone tablet, just etched it out. So, but, you know, we didn't have all distractions. TV, right? I'm a big sports person. You can tape things, right? I can look at it on my damn phone. So these are all time, I wouldn't call them time wasters. You have to decide what you're doing with your time. But you have to understand that there's consequences for what you do with your time, right? It keeps going along, right? And I had a situation, a friend of mine, my sister-in-law, her sister's going to school in Puerto Rico, right? She lives in the center of Puerto Rico, which is in the hillsides, the mountains, okay? There's some having had electricity restored after the big storm. She's trying to go to school, okay, and she's 55 years old. But she has a goal in her mind that she wants to go to school. And I heard the story and I was like, it's an amazing story that somebody is so motivated to do that and it's important to them. But think about that. That's a 55-year-old person in a remote area in Puerto Rico where she doesn't have a lot, right? And you guys, you may not think you have a lot. I've been to countries, I've been to the middle of China. There are people who have children with birth defects who beg on the street. There are people who actually will maim their kids to beg on the street. And the situation that we're in now, you can't even relate to that. You say, why would someone do that? They're desperate, right? They can't get any education. They don't have the opportunities we have here. You go to other countries, you go to India. I go to Tunisia, which is next to Libya in North Africa, and it is, you know, there's suicide bombings there every few months. There's a lot of things going on, and you have to look at these things and be grateful for the situation that you're at right now and utilize your time. And right now, you look at people and they may look at you a certain way or say something when you're doing something that's the right thing to do, but it's not cool, it's not the cool thing to do, right? But you're going to get the benefits of that further on down the road. So I think it's important for you to try and manage your time as best you can.
Lastly, we want to hand the mic over to King Poppy Baby. He's going to be talking about the credit union here at East Hartford High School.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Akeem. I'm one of the representatives at the credit union in the high school. Just here to talk about us being there. We're there from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10:45 till about 2 o'clock. You can come and open an account, checking and savings account with your parents' permission, of course. Just we have to bring in at least $6. That way you can save all your allowance, whatever the case may be. And you can have a debit card, make purchases. You know, Christmas is coming around. So just here in the, I'm not sure what hall that is, next to Mr. Edge class.
Can you get a round of applause for our guest here? Thank you guys so much for dedicating your time here to speak to us about your experiences. And freshmen, we're going to be leaving out through these doors. You guys go to the gym. Thank you all. Have a good day.
At meals not. I got my Air Forces too, but the other one. I got
And